us through how do you feel? Like now the fight week's here, and how's your training camp? All that good stuff.
I feel great. Week cut's been going smooth on my schedule. Big shout out to Foodie Fit over in Las Vegas. They've been tremendous in terms of my nutrition, taking the time out to answer all of our questions regarding energy levels, and they actually spent the time going into the gyms with me, spending an entire day with me, just kind of understanding what my body goes through on a daily basis. So because of that, I'm on point. I'm not struggling. I actually feel strong, and we're doing this whole process. So I'm really excited to, get into the scale and eat some wholesome food, some really good, strong food, and get ready to go.
This fight was only announced. I mean, it's been less than a month since it was kind of officially announced. Did you know about it well enough before that, or was this just kind of a surprise? Like, hey, by the way, we want you to do this, and here's when.
Oh. It had been something that had been in the works for a long time.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, with that said, whether there's a contract or not, I kind of understand how the fight game works. Be ready at all times. Manny Pacquiao, one of my idols, he ended up winning a world title with being a 2-week notice. And so, with that said, I just kept at the gym, learning from previous fights, always building on it. And, by the time we finally got to sign the contract, I'm like, all right, great. No surprises here. So we've been tunnel vision and been focused on this.
When we talked to you here in October, I guess it was, there was already some little mild jaw-jacking going on between you two. So we all kind of felt like this fight was coming anyways, of course. Are you glad that it's now rather than 6 months from now? Do you want to just get this process started and start moving on with it?
Most certainly. I'm just glad that Bellator was on board, my boxing promoter Alan Tremblay was on board, and her boxing promoter Luke Bella was on board, and this is something that's going to be a first of its kind. It's going to be a classic fight, and I'm excited. It's going to promote mixed martial arts, nevertheless women's martial arts, and also women's boxing. And so, with having this platform and this stage, the one thing that we all fighters want to do is just fight. So it just all makes everything that much easier for us.
It's, the timing of it seems perfect because everybody is talking about MMA and boxing kind of meeting up anyways, but do you feel, I guess not necessarily the pressure, but the opportunity that will come with this of being able to really build your name? I mean, both you guys have what seems like a tremendous opportunity right now, in the combat sports space.
Yeah, in combat sports, this is untapped territory, and so this is why I wanted to pursue into women's mixed martial arts. This wasn't something that was available like a year ago. This is completely brand new, so it's nice to actually, take the reins and take control of my career and everyone being involved. And, this is, again, the easiest part for any fight is the fight itself. And just to get everything just all set, it takes a lot of work. It takes a massive team. It takes a lot of support from everyone outside of it to get together. So it's nice to have everyone climb on board and be like, yeah, let's do this. And I really believe that, timing is everything. With Mayweather fighting McGregor, this caused a domino effect, and I think this caused a lot more interest. And if anything, this should actually propel their fight if they were to have a rematch in the cage. So, again, it's untapped territory, so let's see how it'll all fold out.
You mentioned timing. I mean, you also, both of you are closer to 40 than you are to 30. Does that play into it as well? And I don't want to say either of you are thinking about the end of your careers, but 40 is that sort of magic number where people start asking about it. And if you don't strike while the iron's hot, there's a chance that it may never happen as well, right?
I've always had that same mind frame even before I won my first world title in boxing because this is combat sports. You never know when it's going to be your last fight. You can be 20 years old and you have a bad outcome. You just don't ever know. So all I can say is I can speak for myself, and I feel great. I have a really, really strong team. Again, having nutrition all on board, having my teammates just get together, and having all the support, just pan out for me. It's incredible. And I think for athletes 35 and older, just to give you a mind frame too, Serena Williams is also my age. She just had a baby. She just had a child, and she's coming right back into tennis. So just to give you an idea, I think it all depends on how the athlete trains and how they take care of their body, their level of awareness, and also their gene factor. So there's a lot of components. It's not one all size fits all. So I'm just taking it for how it is, and right now I'm feeling great.
Let's go back to the fall because obviously there were a lot of eyes on both of you guys, and things didn't go the right way for either of you that night. What do you take out of that fight, and sort of what were you able to learn from it? to use going forward.
A big shout out to Scott Coker for actually telling everyone that, yeah, MMA is our second sport. Our first sport is boxing. So just being able to highlight that and to talk about that and to have everyone just understand, yes, you know, we are two boxers stepping into the cage, and we're boxers who fight MMA. We're not MMA fighters. So for him to give us the opportunity to perform and just compete, you know, it's a dream come true for fighters. And again, it's untapped territory. It's a brand new landscape, and I'd like to see a lot of other boxers enter into the cage and try to fight MMA, and vice versa. MMA fighters going into the ring and try to fight boxing. So, you know, the dynamics is hot. Name branding will increase because of the opportunities and exposures that fighters will be able to have. I think it just brings more power to the fighters.
How do you feel like you get it done on Friday night?
I feel like I'm going to do fantastic. I feel like, you know, I got a lot of criticism for not using my hands enough. And for my whole thing is, this is mixed martial arts, so there's more than one way to win. So how does the grappling component work? How does the kicking component work? You know, I'm trying to put all that together because as a professional boxer, I can't go into a amateur program and try to build my skill. Because from the way I was taught, in order for me to become a proficient professional boxer, I have to build my skills in amateur boxing. So that component hasn't been created yet in MMA, just where you can have, I don't know, and there's a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of business opportunities for that too, where if someone like Bellator wanted to have like an exhibition match for professional fighters from different fields going in there with other fighters from different backgrounds just so they can get their skills, I think that's something that will bring a lot more excitement, and then it'll bring a lot more opportunities for fighters, whether they're professional or even just the weekend warrior, just so they can collaborate and just build the sport. So, you know, for me, I'm just so excited. You know.
Real quick, do you want to give us a winner for the main event on Friday between Mitchell and Nelson?
I think it's going to be an explosive battle. I shared the same corner with Metro, and I saw him last night. This guy looks phenomenal. This guy looks explosive. And I've also seen Roy Nelson down at the Maywood gym when he trains out there, you know, and he's putting in the work. So, you know, I'm expecting a lot of fireworks. I can't give you a prediction. There's so many factors that happen into the cage. You just don't know until it actually happens.
Cool, thanks.
You accomplished a lot of goals in boxing. Now you're trying to do the same thing in MMA. Obviously, you haven't had the same success yet. What have recent losses, what have you learned from them that's going to help you with this fight?
First off, just having the correct mindset. You know, just keep going. I understand that the dynamics of everything in MMA right now, it's not, like I said, there's a developmental aspect that's lacking for anyone trying to get into it. And so I almost had to treat like my first set of fights like the amateur program. So I just, first off, having the correct mindset, we'll just keep moving forward, keep improving, doing all that I can to just bring excitement. And, you know, just what it ended up coming down to is, at the end of the day, I am a boxer getting into the cage. My bread and butter is my hands. And from what I've seen, from whether I'm watching video and tape or actually going to an actual live fight, fighters, I see the hands differently, way differently. And my thought process is way different. Even when I talk to other MMA coaches, and a lot of them are brilliant. Big shout out to Javier Mendez for spending the time to talk to me and talk to my coach in terms of like what I can do and become a better fighter. You know, just. And if I surround myself with the caliber of a Javier Mendez, I feel like I'm able to at least understand the sport a lot better. And with that said, again, my bread and butter is my hands, and you know, it's something that I think it's going to be fun for me to actually just work on it more with a lot more knowledge that I've gained from the past. And it'll be a lot more exciting for the fans because a lot of people just haven't seen that factor yet. And you know, it was a work in progress, but the journey has been phenomenal.
Your last fight was an extremely close fight. You lost a close split decision, I believe. Have you got a chance to see that fight? And do you think you should have got the decision?
I did. I watched the fight. I really felt like I did what I was supposed to do, and it was just a matter of just one judge's scorecard. And
Sure.
I'm thinking, okay, so how do you even score this? You know, what's considered effective in the cage? Because I felt like I was in control for the majority of the part of the fight, and you know, I had Renzo Gracie. ended up doing a video post with me where I went to the locker room. He was there, and he was applauding for a lot of the work that I did in the cage. And I'm like, wow, thank you. For someone who's fought numerous times
Legend.
in the cage. Yeah, legendary. He can actually understand all the things that I was doing, all the little things. And I'm thinking, man, there's a disconnect with what people see, how people judge it, and how fighters see it. And so with that said, I have to take it like a grain of salt and be like, okay, this is exactly where it is right now. I see it a lot in boxing sometimes. And so with that, I kind of understand how the game works, and it's really all about the entertainment factor for fighters to bring out to the crowd.
You mentioned that your bread and butter is your hands. Obviously, no one would question that. But in past fights, you've actually shown a lot of grappling and successful grappling.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Heather, so far, all we've seen is striking. Everyone's expecting you guys to banging out. That's what everyone really wants. But it might be a safer route to wrestle with her. Should we expect that at all?
Expect for anything. All I can say is that in mixed martial arts, if anyone were to truly want to get into it, it takes time. There is no shortcuts. It's like if anyone wants to become a professional world champion boxer, there are no shortcuts. So you have to put in the road work. You have to put in the time. And if you're going to try and do it in about 4 months, 6 months, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. So in terms of that, expect everything. Expect takedowns, expect ground and pound, expect elbows, knees, punches, all that good stuff.
Now, Heather's last fight, she was actually upset. She was actually outstruck, which surprised pretty much everybody. Have you learned anything watching her last fight? Any holes you see in that fight?
Yeah, it looked exactly what it was. A boxer going up against a kickboxer. That's what it looked like to me. Obviously, Heather didn't understand the kicking lines and all that. And, for me, I was able to understand it because I've been kicking since I was 10 years old. I have 20 years plus of just understanding the lines of that. And so, all I can really say, I could just talk about myself. I went up against a K1 champion, in the cage. Got to take her down twice, and so in terms of the learning curve, again, that takes time, and that's all I could really say about her fight. If you prepare to fight against someone who's going to kickbox, prepare for that.
As we talked about earlier, we spoke to you a couple months back before, the fight. You were asked about Heather. She was asked about you. It kind of seemed like both of you guys were asked about each other more than your actual fight. You seemed very passionate that you want this fight, like you almost needed this fight. Why has this become so personal for you?
It's something that I've learned from boxing. I mean, Muhammad Ali wouldn't be who he is if it wasn't for his division. He had a stacked division, same as Sugar Ray Leonard. He has a stacked division. And Floyd Mayweather wouldn't be who he is if he didn't have the divisions that he fought in. And so, if anyone wants to become a professional fighter, please understand the nature of the sport. There's a reason why Conor McGregor is sitting there pretty with $100 million in his bank account.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, if you want to fight, then fight. Stay in the amateurs. You don't have to deal with that. In the professional ranks, it's a little bit different. And so if you don't understand the business model of how MMA works, how the different MMA organizations work, because they have different rule set, different scoring set, even in boxing, then I would say, man, you're just going to be lost in the shuffle. So in terms of this fighting happening, it needed to happen. I mean, it only made sense. So
now you guys have agreed to fight twice, once in MMA and once in boxing. How did that boxing match come along, being that you both are now, fighting MMA? Like, how did you guys agree no matter what happens, one person could kill the other person, no matter what, you guys got to box too. Where did that come from?
Well, big shout out to my boxing promoter, Alan Tremblay, for bringing this idea up to Bellator and talking with Lou, actually reaching out, talking to Lou about getting all this together because, again, there's a lot of different moving parts, and for everyone to align and be, supporting this, it's a big deal. And, I got to take a note from Freddie Roach. You don't know when you're going to fight until you're actually in the ring and the bell rings.
No,
So,
excuse me.
I know. So even though it's said and I want it to happen, I just don't know how it's going to turn out. This fight, I'm expecting it to be a ball-out action fight. So if someone's expecting us to get back into the ring, I feel like I'm going to be okay. But if someone expects to get back into the ring in like April, for instance, with a smashed nose and 36 stitches opening up and things like that, then I'm like, man, who the heck is your commission and who the heck is your team?
Sure.
Do they care about you? So again, there's a lot of different factors, there's a lot of moving parts, and all I can really just focus on is this fight at hand.
Now, have you guys agreed on a date or location, any of that yet?
If there is, you can ask my boxing promoter.
You don't want to break it right now?
I just don't know. I've just been so focused on this fight.
Okay. Now, I noticed in the last time you guys were talking, you were doing a lot more trash talking here. Now, do you want to play that trash talking role? Do you want to be, the bad guy in the fight?
I'm just gonna be me. Good guy, bad guy. I don't care. People can say whatever they want about me. I don't really give a shit. I take a lot of shit in the gym anyhow. I go through wars. I go through combat. And so at the end of the day, all I want to do is be able to fight and fight on the biggest stage. And Bellator is able to provide that. So, I just try to keep it simple.
My last question: what's your official prediction for the fight?
With my hands raised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Knockout, submission, nothing.
Whatever comes. Whatever comes. So you just don't know.
Okay.
You talked about how you view these first few MMA fights as amateur fights, you're still growing. Are you grateful for maybe the decisions to get that extra ring time in? Is that something you'd be able to study tape and take that experience with you?
100%, 100%. Not just on a physical level, but also just seeing how the judges score and how people perceive it. And in a lot of ways, I saw MMA as a microcosm of how the world works, and I'm able to take that microcosm with boxing microcosm and kind of compose them two together. And I'm like, there's a lot of similarities to it, although they are different sports, but I'm talking business-wise, how the fighters are, where they are in place of their power with moving along into the career versus the promoter and things like that. And I can see it in boxing. I'm trying to see how I can formulate to where I can have movement, because the last thing I want is to get lost in the shuffle. That ended up happening to me when I fought for a different MMA organization, where they had me on 3 fights and I was able to have it in 1 year, and then they shut me out for another year. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on? And then Bellator, I finally arranged a deal with them, and that was 2 years later. So you know what I mean? So being able to have that activity, again, this is what fighters want, because you want to be able to get into that zone, that focus point. And that's something that I was able to have when I was boxing. I was going up for the titles, defending titles, traveling to different countries. I would fight 3 or 4 times a year. So it puts you in a different mindset.
Do you feel like this, now that that's all straightened out and you're going to get some consistency, do you feel like you're going to build momentum from here?
It's definitely an opportunity. So I got to go and take care of my business this Friday. I got to make sure that I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, because sky's the limit right now. And so it's nice to have that momentum, nice to have people on board, and all I can do is just really just put out a heck of a performance.
Thank you.
So that's good. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.